Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the WrestleManiac UK show. Myself, Mex. Hope everybody is well. Hope everyone had a good week, good weekend, getting ready for the week ahead. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. Wrestling Weekly. We're going to chop up what has been happening this week. In the world of professional wrestling, there has been quite a lot that's happened this past weekend, let alone over the past week. So, yeah, we're going to chop it up. Of course, feel free to join in the chat, in the comments, be taking comments and, seeing what you guys have to say about everything we're talking about today. Quite a lot to get through. There's been so much stuff around women's wrestling in both companies that's happened this past weekend. Of course, there's been two big shows this past weekend. NXT had Vengeance Day. AEW had Grand Slam over in Australia. And we're going to talk about both. They're going to talk about both and the outcomes for both of those shows as well. It's been a good weekend, man. It's going to been a good weekend. I'd like to hear in the chat, what you guys enjoyed this past week and weekend from wrestling. We've got news and topics on free agents, people that have turned up in places, people that are yet to turn up. So, yeah, it's been a good week and it's time to chop it up. So, like I say, hit the like button, get involved in the chat. And yeah, we're going to be chatting. Big up Anafi, nice and early as per in the chat. Yeah, man, there's been a lot to discuss, but we're going to start with AEW Grand Slam. Particularly, we're going to start with Toni Storm, who is the new AEW Women's Champion, the 4-time champion. Yeah, and we're going to come back to that. I think Toni Storm is fantastic, but the fact she's a 4-time champion, we're going to come back to and have a little discussion on that. But going into this particular show, Grand Slam, we obviously knew this is like hometown territory, hometown girl returning home. And she had this ongoing story with Mariah May, which dates back to maybe the top of last year, late maybe 2023. My timelines are all kind of mixed up. But the minute Mariah May came into AEW, this is the story that they've been telling. This is the story that has dominated the women's division. And even with Mariah May picking up the AEW Women's Championship at All In last summer, 2024, Toni Storm going away, leaving Mariah May to it, letting her have her shine. It hasn't really worked out like that. Like, let's be honest, Mariah May hasn't really had her shine. And I don't know. I don't feel like it's an AEW problem. I think it's an AEW problem. I am, how do I be politically correct when I say this? Mariah May has done very good work. And I'm just talking from, got my wrestling hat on. Mariah May has done very good work in this run. And, even a blind man can see that she has tried. I don't think AEW have given her all the tools. And I think as fans, we probably all knew this fact of Toni Storm coming back was hanging over her head. And maybe as fans, we didn't really give a lot of other things a chance, just waiting for this moment with Toni Storm to return. And if you think of feuds, there's quite a few kind of throwaway stuff in there. I think the stuff that she done with Anna Jay was particularly good, but that all kind of got tucked away and hidden on Collision. And the mainstream never saw it, never saw the light of day. And that could have went to a pay-per-view situation. And instead they just banged it out on Collision. So she wasn't really given, the best hand in everything, in my opinion. But then things have warmed up again ever since Toni Storm returned to the company, obviously playing her regular Toni Storm gimmick and now coming out as Timeless Toni Storm, went to Grand Slam, went to Australia. The match itself, I think, was a decent match. It was good stuff. You're just kind of watching it knowing what is going to happen, how it's going to end. I don't think that, spoilers helped. Obviously, there was a lot of the pre-tapes and the fact that it was in Australia, you know, half the world, I guess, knew the result before it got played out in America, and us in the UK would have found out either through spoilers or, you know, by other means. So it's like you knew it was coming. It happened. Great moment. It was a roll up. So in a way, it leaves Mariah looking strong, but inevitable that Toni was going to pick up that championship. And it's good, man. It's really good. Toni is head and shoulders above any other woman's, you know, week to week performance in that company, whether it's on the mic, whether it's in the ring. I just think consistently she is very, very good. And I was thinking, just, you know, as I was watching the match and watching Toni lift the belt, WWE had this woman. And it's funny because I think maybe not to a theatric point of view, WWE maybe didn't know what she had. Maybe Triple H did. Triple H was a big backer of Toni Storm, brought her in for the Mae Young Classics, brought her in NXT UK and stuff like that. But Vince, if he knew he had this level of, or she had this level of ability, I don't think Vince would have done with Toni Storm what they were doing, which, you know, left her to quit and walk out on the company or whatever it was. So, yeah, they definitely let one go, and she's found a home for herself on TV every week, a cornerstone of AEW right now, and that AEW's women's division. We're going to chat about that in a sec. But yeah, great to see Toni Storm back where she needs to be. Let's take some comments. I've seen Eric Douglas, big up Eric. He says, I personally feel like the wrong Aussie female won. Harley really could have used the title. I personally feel like Mariah should have won. A lot other females could use title shots, but no, Jamie never got her rematch. He says, okay, we'll come on to this. I think there's definitely something to be said for you know, they rolled out a lot of Aussies and, you know, people of that region, New Zealanders, and, you know, and all that kind of stuff on the show, which I think is nice. You know, it's not often that, you know, the company comes to your town, the other end of the world, basically. So I think it's decent that they all got this shine, and not all of them needs to end in winning titles and stuff like that. But in this occasion, I'll disagree with you, Eric. I do think that Toni Storm had to win, needed to win. And let's get on to the fact that, you know, so yeah, let's tie up that bow and just say Mariah May, job well done. I would say she wasn't given all the tools, but I think all in all, job well done. But Toni Storm is now a 4-time champion, 4-time AEW Women's Champion, and I don't know whether that signals it's a problem or there is a problem. Toni Storm being a 4-time women's champion may very well signal there is a problem in AEW and the women's division. I know, like we didn't know, but like, I think this is probably the biggest issue. And this isn't me picking on the women's division. You know, I'm sure some of you are saying, but Moxley is a 4-time men's champion. Yes. And we all, I think that one has been more obvious to kind of, you know, say, right, the minute that something goes wrong in AEW, they smash glass and give the belt to Moxley. I think that's been very obvious and very apparent. But in AEW now, a 4-time women's champion, if this was WWE, we'll be calling Charlotte Flair. You know what I mean? Like, now, I know Toni has, I guess, done hers in a more drama filled and entertaining way, if you want to say that, but I just feel like there's a slight issue here, because in 5 years of a company running, to have a 4-time women's champion, I think others aren't getting a chance to a certain degree. Or maybe others are blowing, maybe it's the exact same thing that's happening in the men's division. Others are blowing their chance, and we're returning back to something that we know that works. Because that's exactly what's happened time and time again with the men's division. Stuff has gone wrong. People have got injured, put the belt back on Moxley. And that's maybe what we're doing right here, right now with Toni Storm. the Mariah May stuff didn't quite catch fire. Maybe it was always designed for Toni to win it back anyway. But even still, 4-time women's champion. So it's an interesting one to see, where they go next and how much faith they've got in the rest of the roster. They've got a Mercedes Moné, who's right now TBS champion. There's a lot of women that are, doing nothing. If we're being honest, Chris Statlander looks like she's about to enter a feud with Megan Bayne, which will be great. That should just be great. That should just take care of itself. There's a Willow Nightingale. What does she do? Someone remind me. Someone attacked her recently, if I remember correctly. Was it Megan Bayne or was it someone else? Someone attacked Willow Nightingale recently. I can't remember who it is. But Willow Nightingale's doing next to nothing. Britt Baker, I feel stupid even saying her name because she just seems like she's in so much doo-doo with the company right now. They're not even putting her on TV in any even like minuscule feud, let alone the women's title. Jamie Hayter, I think, is the big one that we all expected to kind of resume life at the top of the thing. Marina Shafir, thank you, Eric. Marina Shafir took out Willow Nightingale recently. Jamie Hayter is the name, which was mentioned earlier by Eric, that she hasn't come back into the fold. She basically came back. She done some stuff with Julia Hart, put Julia Hart over, told her you can be anything you want to be and all of this kind of stuff. Don't need a leader. But right now, it feels like Jamie Hayter needs to be led. Jamie Hayter probably won't get the title back between like now and All In, which is, big show in July, August or so they're doing it. That's the next stop, because we can assume between now and July, barring injury or something drastic, I don't think this woman's title is going to change hands. Toni will hold this title until All In. Who is the All In match? Will Mercedes Moné try to become 5-belt Moné and just walk into that match holding all of her titles? Not that she's going to drop the TBS to have a go here. Will she just walk in with all of her titles? Jamie Hayter is an option. I feel like they're going to have to really heat up Hayter between now and then, though. Athena is an option. Ring of Honor Women's Champion in Texas, in her hometown. Will she go in as Ring of Honor Women's Champion? I think there's probably more stock at this point letting her go into that match, go into All In as Ring of Honor Women's Champion and let her fight just someone on that grand stage for that belt. Unless she's dropping the Ring of Honor Women's Championship to come over here and win in Texas, win the AEW Women's Championship. If I'm Athena, I'm not coming here to just fill a gap. I'm not coming here to just tick a box, basically. So let me walk in and do my thing with the Ring of Honor title, or let me drop the Ring of Honor title between now and then come here, challenge for the TBS or challenge for the world title and win it at All In. I think they owe her that much because Athena's been great over the last 2+ years for this company. Big up, love, bro. Lino had his wrestling debut this weekend. Big up you, bro. Eric says Athena finally losing the belt to Billy at All In. Yeah. That's I think that's fine for their story. That's fine. Although she definitely should have lost this belt to Billy a long time ago. But yeah, listen, I think I trust Toni Storm. I think Toni Storm is fantastic. She's brilliant, but they have a conundrum on their hands. I think we've all kind of thought Willow will beat Mercedes for that title, maybe at All In. So I don't know if that discounts the likes of Willow and Mercedes. It's a difficult one. But the women's division, there's people, but it's who do we trust? That's what it seems like. It's a thing of trust, and who are we going to give, that grand spot to? Toni Storm versus who for the AEW Women's World Championship at All In. I don't know who's it's going to be. I don't know who's going to be. There's a lot of contenders right now. There's a lot of names, but none of them will really stand up. And I don't know if we're missing anybody. But seeing Toni with the title again, it makes sense. It makes sense for sure. Well deserved. And like I say, good stuff Mariah May has tried to do with this title and bring stuff to life. Let's talk about Grand Slam, AEW's voyage into Australia. Australia is their third biggest market behind the US and UK, so it made sense them wanting to go there. However, obviously a lot of stuff has gone wrong in them planning to go there. Firstly, this, whatever they say, is nonsense. This was slated to be a pay-per-view and it turned out to just be TV. The original location of where the event should have been was in the wilderness, apparently. I don't know geographically, but in the wilderness apparently. And a lot of people were complaining, like, why have they gone to, you know, make an event over there, sort of thing. And then they brought it back closer in, put it in Brisbane. They made it like a regular TV show, but I felt like it felt really good. I've seen some people talk about like the miking of the crowd and stuff like that. I felt like I was watching 2019, 2020 AEW. I felt that this felt as a TV special or whatever. It felt really good in that arena, even though I was watching from home. But it felt, you know, it felt good, man. I think they've done a good job. As you know, I saw stuff on social media that the crowd are very vocal towards TK, which I think is deserved. But I didn't let them, you know, put a downer on the overall show, sort of thing, which was really good. The show opened up with Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega going against Carl Fletcher and Takeshita. Carl Fletcher I expected to get like a bigger pop, a bigger reception, being, you know, not quite the hometown boy in Brisbane, but he's from Sydney, Australia. But no, no one seemed to care, sort of thing. Will Ospreay got the big pop, Kenny Omega got a big pop, being the baby faces. So yeah, it was a really, really good match, a really good showing. One thing I noticed, there was rumors online that AEW didn't ship their ring in time or something like that. I don't believe that those are true. I don't believe AEW would be as callous not to get their ring to Australia on time. That's why I just don't think it's true. I think AEW rented a ring in Australia, but the ring seemingly was smaller than like the regular AEW TV ring that they use. So to me, when I was watching this match, especially with the guys involved, this felt like super indie-rific. Like, just because the ring was smaller as they are in the indies, and like everyone was just bouncing and running at speed and everything like that. Everything just happened quicker because the ring was smaller. Our resident wrestler here says it was 18 feet, not 20. So that makes sense. And you could almost see that the space around the ring was bigger because there's a smaller ring. But for me, it didn't take anything away. Like I said, the action felt faster. Ospreay and Kenny Omega, it's just like, it's a real dream team. Like, it's just a real dream team. And Takeshita's brilliant. Takeshita is so good. Fletcher is so good. Fletcher with his little ad-libs to the crowd, like he wanted to pop like maybe his mates in the crowd or whatever that come to see him. Like, I don't know what it was, but he was having a whale of a time. Don Callis on commentary, obviously jumping off commentary, interfering in the match as he does, was really good. Yeah, this match was very good, very physical at times. But yeah, just super entertaining as well. And that hidden blade, one-winged angel finish, I just said, you lot, just stop it. Just stop it. Pack it in. Behave yourselves. Like, it was so good. And they got the win. And later on during the show, we saw Kenny Omega take to the mic backstage and he's called out Takeshita. So we're looking at Omega versus Takeshita for the AEW International Championship for Revolution next month, which massive match. massive, massive match. And I expect Omega to win because Omega is brilliant. I don't think Omega is going to lose to Takeshita or be pinned by Takeshita on 3 occasions. I don't think Omega has an issue with that happening, to be honest. But I don't think he would. They're gonna do that consecutively on 3 occasions back to back. So I feel Omega's about to become the international champion, and then it lines up with what I think was a lot of people assuming was going to happen for All In. Kenny Omega as the international champion taking on Okada as the continental champion. I don't know if they plan to unify these belts or if they just plan to make it, some type of undisputed something, or who knows. But like, tasty, innit? Like, I think it looks good. Like Omega and Okada in these quote unquote mid card positions, but having this big match like at All In with both titles on the line, I think is something. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that if that's the direction if they go. If Takeshita beats Omega, I don't mind. Like, I do not mind at all, but I do think that won't be the case. And then of course Ospreay has challenged Carl Fletcher to a cage match at Revolution, which is, it's just going to be stupid. It's just going to be a ridiculous match. Like, so yeah, that was looking good for out of this match, kind of spinning off into the next stage of these guys' feuds. Monet versus Harley. Harley surprised me. I think there's like a category of like women coming into this sport, and I hope I don't demean anyone or say anything out of place, right? But I call them like glam girls. Some of these ladies that they've kind of come into wrestling a different way, maybe as valets or maybe just as other on-screen talent, and now they're starting to wrestle. So people like Harley Cameron, people like Maxine Dupree, people like Lana, Rusev or Miro's ex-wife. Like, these people that have kind of come into the business in a different manner and then try to start wrestling. I think Harley Cameron is ahead of a lot of these like names I've just listed, which is, kudos to her. And obviously she was previously with a wrestler, but I don't believe they're married anymore, together anymore, whatever. Maybe that helped her development. I think Harley is great talent. She's just an all-round great talent. And this Monet feud was completely carried by her. Now, big up Monet for kind of being the dumb stooge that went along with, the story and the banter of the story that they were telling, because you have to kind of come off your high horse, your pedestal, to play that role. So big up Monet. And of course she was brilliant. I thought her gear was fantastic. I thought Monet looked brilliant. I don't know if that was like it was like a Steve Irwin-esque ranch kind of meets Tarzan woman. It was great. I thought her gear was great. She looked fantastic. But yeah, she definitely kind of played dumb to allow Harley to shine in this. And in ring, Harley was solid. I think there was a couple of things. And I don't want to be super critical. I'm not a wrestler, and I don't know what it takes. But there was a kind of times you could see that Harley was maybe just overfilled by emotion and maybe moving too fast and missing some things. But I feel like that was early on. Once she settled into the match, like, it was a good match. Like, it was a good match. Like, so yeah, Monet got the win. Harley Cameron for sure. I feel now, again, going back to Eric's comment earlier on, the talk online going into this match was that Harley Cameron should win. AEW shocked the world. Let's do something different. Give Harley Cameron the TBS title, beating Mercedes Moné. I'm a firm believer of strike when the iron's hot. Yeah. But for me, we've already struck. The striking part happened when they gave her the match. When she got the match and, she gets to perform in her home country in front of friends and families and country men and women alike. That was striking. I worry, like, there's times when we should have struck when the iron was hot. Private Party was a great example, and we didn't, and then we gave them the belt, and then it flopped. Swerve Strickland, we didn't strike when we should have. Let's be completely honest. Swerve turned out to be a great champion and has elevated his position in AEW, but did we strike when we should have? No. So they haven't tend to struck when the iron's hot, and I don't think this was an occasion they should have. It was absolutely fine, Monet winning. This was just a fun little feud in between. And Harley Cameron done what she needed to do. Harley Cameron has arrived at the dance now. Now it depends how AEW book her to get her back to a position like this where she truly deserves to become champion. It's not just because she put her hand up a puppet a couple of times and made us all laugh and stuff like that and got a match with the best of the business that she should beat them and become champion. Like, yes, she deserved the spot, and that was her reward for all the good work she's done, not the championship. Let's turn it on, people. You see what I mean? So, yeah, I think she 100% deserved the spot and everything like that, but the championship, not yet. And, you know, we have to ask ourselves as well, she beats Monet, like, what's her run going to look like? Is Harley Cameron ready to have a title belt and a high profile run off the back of Mercedes Moné, who's doing a lot of good work with the title now? And, you know, other women that have held that belt, the Willows, the Statlanders, the Jade Cargills, like, it's, how are we just going to give this belt now to Harley Cameron? And if she starts facing people that she could believably beat, let's say, and I'm just talking about on a name value thing, not skill, like a Penelope Ford and I don't know, other women of that ilk, we'll get bored and turn off our TV, say this run is rubbish. So yeah, we can just chill on that one. It's happened anyway. They made the right decision. Monet retained. Big up Brands. He says Harley's a jack of all trades for sure. She's very talented, super talented woman. Eric says, I really want the mini Mercedes so bad, but I don't think they'll ever sell them. If this was WWE, they would be selling those puppets. This is a great point. This is a great point. If this was WWE, they'll be selling those puppets. But I don't know. Maybe, I don't want to say the business acumen. They just, you know, it's funny because people once called this company a t-shirt business, which I thought at the time was highly disrespectful for the shows and everything that they would put on. But now when they need to be transitioning into that merch era, lacking. I watched a video this past weekend about Devon Dudley talking about where his pay was best over his career. Obviously, it was WWE, but it wasn't just because his pay was good, like his base rate pay was good. He said the merch in WWE goes off, and that helps the talent and stuff like that. So, yeah, AEW really probably need to start doing better in that department. Lino says people enjoy moments too much, but forget that there needs to be a follow through. This is it. Like the moment of her walking out in front of her home country. I don't know how many people were in attendance. I haven't checked, but that stadium was packed. That arena was packed, and that's the moment. That's the I've arrived as a professional wrestler. Let's not forget, we're here asking AEW to put the belt on this woman. Yeah, let's not forget she has only won one match on TV. One match. She beat what's her name? Valkyrie the other day. Taya Valkyrie, like maybe 2 weeks ago. That is her one win in AEW. Let's use our brains. Come on. Let's use our brains. It's not every day. Moment is fine, but you know, then what? We're the biggest critics. Let's use our brains. Let's move on. We had a tag match. Mox, Claudio, they went up against Cope and Jay White. Cope got a fantastic response. The crowd singing his tune was a really nice touching moment, and then followed by the schling, and Jay White came out and big pop for the New Zealander in Australia, which I didn't think he would get, but he got. Listen, this match was just what it was: vicious, aggressive, crazy at times. Some good stuff. Utah got involved. I think the boys done well here. It was a good scrap, as I like to call it. And then Mox put in that chokehold. I actually love that bulldog chokehold that he does. Like, I just think it's just brilliant. It's just pure force and violence. Like, I'm literally going to choke you out. Done that to Cope to get the win. I didn't actually know which way this match was going to go going into it. And Mox pinning Cope or making Cope tap out has slightly concerned me. And it slightly concerns me because I'm thinking now, will Adam Copeland dethrone Jon Moxley at Revolution? This is the Revolution match for the AEW World Championship. Adam Copeland, the rated R superstar Cope, whatever you want to call him, versus the leader of the Death Riders, Jon Moxley. And Moxley has just choked him out. And I'm sure Cope will want his win back. Like, I'm sure of it. I was somewhat surprised when they even made Cope TNT champion in AEW as fast as they did. Didn't really have a problem with it because them times the TNT belt was floundering a bit. To be fair, it still is. But I didn't really have a problem with that. And I felt he done well with that before. I think he got injured, didn't he? Will he dethrone Jon Moxley? AEW surely are hearing the cries of the audience that we're not enjoying this. We don't like this story. It's boring. It doesn't make sense. Like, change it. And I'm sure the original idea, as we all know, is for Darby Allin to dethrone Jon Moxley at All In for the title. Darby Allin is off right now, climbing Mount Everest. I hope he's well. There hasn't been any reports of otherwise, so let's just hope the best for Darby Allin. But do they switch gears here? There's a number of things that people have said to me in the past few days that could happen. One being Cope wins the title at Revolution, which gets me nervous because although me personally, I don't mind the Death Rider stuff, and I know I'm, an anomaly here, but we can do better 100%. Cope isn't the better for me. He's not the fix for this. And I worry that because we are very vocal as a fan base as to us not enjoying this right now, they may see Cope as the fix. They may see Cope as the respite from the current title run. Even if it's a thing where Cope wins it, holds it for a bit, Moxley wins it back, and then Darby can beat Moxley later on in the year. I'm worried that Cope may be the answer come next month at Revolution. Not a fan. I'm not a fan of it at all. The other suggestion that a lot of people have said, which again makes a lot of sense, Cope pins Moxley at Revolution. Cope's best mate, Christian Cage, comes down, cashes in on his clipboard, and wins the AEW World title. Also can form a respite between Moxley's run. Again, if they still have plans for Darby, then Moxley can pin Christian Cage for it, win it back, then go into the Darby match, and Darby can finally get his win over Moxley and win the title. It's a conundrum. It's a conundrum. Like, I would feel a lot more comfortable right now if Cope pinned Claudio in this match, but that never happened. Like, Mox got a definitive win over Cope, so yeah, I'm concerned, and I don't want to see. It's funny because I don't want to see Cope as champion, To be honest, Christian has still been enjoyable, but he's lost a lot of his steam. So he can cash in and win the title. There's nothing to that sort of thing. But I don't know. But then at the same time, I don't want Mox to become a 5-time champion off the back of just a little bit of a hot potato. As crazy as it sounds, I'd probably rather stick it out and Mox just holds the title till Darby beats him. Let me know what you think in the comments, man. Let me know what you think. Should Moxley be dethroned between now and All In? Even if he's to win it back again, do we just need to pivot from this and do something else? Be interesting to see what you guys think. Let's move on and get through the rest of this card. There's 2 more matches. Okada versus Buddy Matthews. Good solid match. Buddy Matthews again, hometown boy, got to put on a match with one of the world's best. I think this was good. Okada cheated to win, low blow, then hit a rainmaker. Yeah, I didn't expect Buddy Matthews to win. He didn't. Apparently Rhea Ripley was in the crowd. He done Rhea Ripley's submission hold, the cloverleaf kind of thing, which was nice. And he had like a similar jacket that Rhea Ripley had when she wrestled back home in Australia as well. So those two are super cute, man. I feel like, people always look at wrestling couples and they have their favorites and stuff like that. And because of maybe these two's aesthetic as like 2 big muscle people, tall and athletic and grungy with the tattoos, like they don't really get looked at as a wrestling couple that everyone thinks is all lovey-dovey, but I think them 2 are adorable. Eric says here, I hope Buddy isn't seriously hurt. Yeah, I saw a bit of a knock there. Hopefully, because it seems like he's about to embark on a bit of a run, singles run, or release him and his new group with without, should I say, Malachi Black. So yeah, hopefully he's well. And then we finished the show with the AEW women's title match, which we started talking about with. So yeah, I think it was a really good show. It's a shame that the Australian faithful, the Australian crowd feel like they got cheated because they thought they were getting a pay-per-view, and that wasn't the case. But I feel like they did get a good show. Obviously, it's all about your money and what you pay for. And they maybe paid over the odds for this TV show, this collision, ultimately. But yeah, I feel like some other shows have been taped in Australia, maybe this upcoming week. So we'll see how that pans out. On the subject of AEW, before we move off and talk about some WWE stuff, it came out this past week. Josh Alexander. He was a free agent from Valentine's Day, the 14th of February. I want to say I had the privilege of talking to Josh Alexander back in September, maybe August, maybe. Spoke to him and he talked about the free agency, and he's never been, that guy that's free agent and people are grabbing and pulling him either way, wanting him to come to their companies. And he was looking forward to it. And at the time off camera, he told me it was February when the deal was up, and that was all widely reported at the time. And February 14th, free agent. Now, a lot of people would have thought he would end up in the WWE. I'm not sure why. Maybe because of TNA's relationship with WWE, maybe because how stacked AEW is in that kind of upper mid-card position. I think that's what the thinking was. He would be heading to WWE, and it was a case of, probably NXT to bolster the ranks in NXT. However, Josh Alexander, I think it came out, was it on Friday? It must have been on Friday, had hired the services of a one Barry Bloom to handle his negotiations. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, Barry Bloom he's like a top super agent in the world of wrestling. There's one football agent, I'm trying to think of his name. His name leaves me right now, that like Mourinho used, Pogba used, all of these top footballers use. I know someone knows in the chat. Put the guy's name in the chat. Is it George Mendes? It might be George Mendes. I can't remember. But Barry Bloom is basically this guy for wrestling, it seems. He is negotiating all the big players' contracts, the big players in wrestling, that is, especially when it comes to moving to AEW. This guy, Josh Alexander, Lino's put here, Mino Raiola, yeah, so that's Pogba's agent, yeah, 100%. Yeah, so this guy, Josh Alexander, used Barry Bloom, had hired the services of Barry Bloom over the past weekend. And the minute I saw that report coming in, I said, this guy is going to AEW. Barry Bloom took Will Ospreay to AEW. Like he sorted his contract, made Will Ospreay rich. You can ask Will that. He said, Will tell you this guy, made me rich because of the contract negotiations. Barry Bloom took Okada to AEW. And look, you can say that these are names that you pretty much thought would end up in AEW anyway, but you still have to negotiate that stunning contract, which makes you leave your hometown, whether it's England or Japan. So yeah, the minute Josh Alexander hired Barry Bloom, I thought, okay, he's AEW bound, which is fine. I think it's fine. Like, AEW have seemingly cleared the ranks of a few people they don't want, in terms of Ricky Starks, who we'll talk about later, in terms of Malachi Black, Miro. These guys have all left AEW in the past week. So the money's there, the positions are there. You could argue the positions are there. These guys obviously weren't really on TV anyway. AEW are seemingly negotiating with Phoenix right now, apparently, to let Phoenix go. So they've cleared some space. Look at that. I didn't even know this. Thank you, Lino. Barry Bloom also negotiated Kevin Nash and Scott Hall's WCW contracts. You can see we're dealing with someone that's serious here. So yeah, I think it's all but safe to say that Josh Alexander is turning up at AEW, which I think is great. Josh Alexander is a fantastic wrestler. AEW is the home of professional wrestling. So he can go there and have some really good matches and hopefully get his teeth stuck into some really good stuff. I don't know whether he sees this as a forever move. I think he could climb the ranks in AEW, but AEW right now, they probably need to find themselves that a strong contingent at the top of the card, move away from Moxley and stuff like that, which I think Moxley's been a fantastic service for AEW. But like we're saying, 4-time men's champion, we need to move on. we need to move on. And these are people that, can step up and move into these positions. And, this is one of the talents that they are more than likely have got coming in. Speedball Mike Bailey, he signed for AEW 2 months ago, I want to say. We ain't seen him. We ain't seen him. I heard reports over the weekend that Jeff Cobb is going to AEW, which I think is fantastic. I think that's amazing. But I haven't seen anything on it since, or he hasn't turned up. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I'd love to see Jeff Cobb on AEW TV week in, week out. The guy is brilliant. There's other names of previously released WWE people, especially in that men's division. Let's look at Cedric Alexander, recently released. Syndicate is right there. There is the aspect of Tony Khan and Big Swole and what happened all those years ago, which I don't know if Cedric Alexander will go and work for a man that ultimately disrespected his wife. I wouldn't blame him if he did. People can be adults and squash beef and apologize behind closed doors. At the end of the day, he has to make a living for him and his family. So I wouldn't blame him if he did. But yeah, Lino says that I'd rather Kevin Knight for Cedric. For Hurt Syndicate, yes. for Hurt Syndicate, yes, I would rather Kevin Knight over Cedric Alexander, but I think Cedric got the short end of the stick in WWE completely. I think that it's funny because it's one of them ones where, as we all know, pushed for Cedric to be signed, and they thought, okay, we'll sign him. But if it wasn't their plan to sign him, is it their fault that he wasn't really used adequately? You know. But yeah, I'll definitely love to see Kevin Knight, who I believe his contract should be up relatively soon as well. So that could be someone special in AEW in the Hurt Syndicate. But yeah, Josh Alexander, listen, all the best to him if he is going to AEW. All the best to him. Just I hope they use him. I hope they use him. The guy's got a lot of talent. Yeah, I hope he gets a really good move out of it. Let's talk about something that happened on SmackDown the past week. Charlotte Flair. We had a really good match between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton kept her championship because there was some palaver at the closing stages of the match. The match didn't quite finish, so Tiffany Stratton just retained the championship. Charlotte Flair came out. Charlotte Flair sat over Tiffany Stratton and picked her for WrestleMania. Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. I felt like this is what I thought was going to happen. And then obviously we had that Charlotte versus Rhea segment where I thought, okay, they're going to go back to the well for the third time, which I'm fine with because those two are brilliant. They know each other so well. They put on great matches. And now we've went back to Tiffany versus Charlotte, which we thought we were going to get in the first place. I do feel a tad underwhelmed. I do feel like, I thought I was going to get, Charlotte Rhea 3. But for me, this is probably designed as a passing of the torch moment. I would like to think. A lot of people have kind of fans maybe, and WWE, I think WWE are 100% culpable for messing up Charlotte Flair's return to the company. I said this on Gorilla Position. When all those years ago, Triple H returned from his injury, they were showing us Triple H training, working hard, building up that sympathy from the crowd and the eagerness to see him back, right? Fast forward to recent times, Cody Rhodes, the same again. They showed us working hard to get back into shape following his torn pec and everything like that, declared himself for the Rumble. When Charlotte Flair was coming back, what was she doing? Any training videos put out on WWE TV? No. Instead, WWE showed us Charlotte Flair getting on yachts, getting on private jets, shopping. Real styling and profiling, flexing. And then you bring her back and you're shocked that the crowd aren't treating her like a babyface. You didn't draw the sympathy from me. You just showed me who she was. Like, am I supposed to be sympathetic to someone like that? She had heel tendencies when you told us she was coming back, pretty much behaved like a heel when she came back. And it's like, oh, things aren't going to plan because she was meant to get a babyface reaction. I don't know. But like, I think where they can correct all of this, even her winning the Rumble has rubbed people up the wrong way. But where I think they can correct all of this is her going into WrestleMania and putting Tiffany Stratton over. Her putting Tiffany Stratton over would be the whoa moment. Okay, fine, cool. WWE have once messed this kind of story up. Remember back to Asuka. Asuka ran through NXT, came onto main roster, won the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, found herself up against Charlotte at WrestleMania, and Charlotte won. Why? Why did Charlotte win that match? And if it wasn't enough, then Asuka said, you know, Charlotte was ready for Asuka. Listen, now Charlotte is the one walking in with all the superpower and everything like that. Tiffany Stratton needs this win. First WrestleMania. I think she needs this win more than anything, because as great as we all know Tiffany Stratton is skill-wise, and you know, garners responses from the crowd and all that kind of stuff, she hasn't really done anything of stature feud-wise. She's won a Money in the Bank. She's become a women's champion in less than a year on SmackDown, right? On main roster. She hasn't had like one actual feud. The closest thing she's had to a feud is ultimately turning her back on her friend Nia Jax, you know, cashing in, winning the title off her. They've had a match this past week, which hasn't resulted in a winner, really. She's just retained the belt through Candice LeRae's shenanigans. And now we're going to swoop off into Charlotte Flair, which is her actual first real feud on this show. So I think we've got to make it count. WrestleMania is in what, 62 days, maybe something like that. I think we've got to make this count. We've got to make this first feud count. If she walks into WrestleMania and loses to Charlotte, I like even forget about Charlotte winning another title, because it's just like whatever. And I'm a Charlotte fan, but the right thing to do is to put Tiffany Stratton over. The right thing to do at this point at WrestleMania is to put Tiffany Stratton over. Charlotte can beat her in 2 months' time if she needs to, if she must. But on this stage at WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair needs to take the backseat. Tiffany Stratton needs to get the win. I really do think that's what needs to happen. And then I think we're almost justified in giving her the Rumble win and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's what we need to do. I think that's what's best for business. I mean, it opens up the conversation now of Rhea Ripley and the Elimination Chamber. What's going to happen over there? It's like all eyes really are on that Chamber match now. And it's weird to me that Io's not in it. Io's getting her title match with Rhea, I think, this next week on Raw. Bianca Belair there is slated to be the winner of the Elimination Chamber. And it's like, she's in a story right now. I think it's very messy. I think they've messed up and just a lot of stuff over there don't make sense. And I hope they make it make sense. But we'll see. I don't know if Io circles back around and gets back into the fold for Elimination Chamber or for WrestleMania. Who knows? But yeah, I think they need to clear up some stuff over there with that Rhea's title right now. Let's talk NXT, man. Let's talk NXT Vengeance Day. This was a good show. This was a really good show. I guess the first thing we'll chat about was the opening match on Vengeance Day. Stephanie Vaquer winning the North American Women's title. You see Stephanie Vaquer, it's almost like they don't know what to do with her. I think Stephanie Vaquer is too good to be where she is, and they are slowing down her progress. They are just making her jump through hoops when they know she can get to the destination much faster. They're putting her on the scenic route of trying to navigate through WWE. I think she's great. But I think that Stephanie Vaquer just needs to kind of go through all of this stuff, get to where they want her to be. I mean, the fact that Stephanie Vaquer is winning the North American Championship and very much challenging the world champion or laying out her stool for the world champion, I think it just says everything. Erica said the Dark Angel of NXT is phenomenal. She is. She is. And he says we don't want to rush her versus Julia. They are. they are. I think this is probably the stand and deliver match. This is the WrestleMania weekend stand and deliver match. Vaquer versus Julia. Both titles on the line. Are they going to create a bit of a, is it Keith Lee situation here when Keith Lee faced Adam Cole out with both titles, the men's North American title and the NXT title? It was short lived. He dropped one of the titles immediately, but this could be the plan for Stephanie Vaquer to have both titles, maybe for longer than Keith Lee did, and maybe they move Julia up to the main roster. Because I know Julia and Stephanie have been slightly joined by the hip ever since they came in, but it's like, why are they doing this otherwise? Why is Stephanie winning a title and in the same night telling the backstage correspondent I'm watching the women's title match because I still have, bigger fish to fry? That is ballsy. That is very... She's almost dismissed the North American title that she just won. But it's weird because, like I said, like they could have just made her North America, could have made her the women's champion and made Julia the North American women's champion. They could have give them the opposite belts sort of thing. But seemingly they're giving her the scenic route. She's fantastic. I think, just to speak on Fallon Henley, I think Fallon has been great as a heel and stuff like that. I like this faction. I don't like how close this faction is to, what was the other faction called? Toxic Attraction, Mandy Rose. I don't like how close this faction resembles Toxic Attraction, especially because JC Jane is in there. JC Jane, I think, is great, ready for main. I think Fallon Henley's great, but I don't think this faction has worked. I didn't really feel like it elevated Fallon as a champion. There was some good stuff. She had defenses of the belt. They helped her like a heel faction would, but I just don't feel like the faction is... I think the look, like I say, I think the aesthetic of the faction has already happened with Toxic Attraction 1. So we're kind of rehashing something that's already happened. I think JC Jane is ready to go. Fallon Henley could probably do is some more time in NXT. I don't think like she's absolutely kind of gagging, ready to go. Like it's obvious, like she's ready to go up to main. And obviously, what's her name? Jasmine Nix is still pretty much learning her trade. But yes, I was happy that Fallon won this belt and had an opportunity because she's been doing a lot of good work in NXT before she won this belt. But I just feel like this run didn't really tell me much. And it's funny because I felt very much the same with Kalani at the time. I didn't feel Kalani's run, inaugural run told me much about her either. All the evolution has happened since Kalani lost the belt. Maybe that's going to be the same for Fallon Henley. And for Stephanie Vaquer, this is merely just a trinket to hold because she cares about the women's title in NXT more so than this NXT one. So we will see. But yeah, good match to open up the show. From there, we had what other matches did we have on the card? We had Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe had a strap match, and the result of this match shocked a lot of people, but I wasn't shocked. And in fact, on my predictions, I got this right because if Trick Williams beats Eddie Thorpe, right? Trick Williams, that we know is probably soon to move up to main. If Trick Williams beats Eddie Thorpe is toast. He's done. He's finished. Finito. Put him in the bin. Like, Eddie Thorpe needed a big win. He needed a big result. And of course, there were shenanigans that led to it. There was the low blow with the strap, and then he delivered Trick's knee. But yeah, I thought this was the perfect condition for Eddie Thorpe, who's been carrying around that strap, to win the strap match and get a big win over someone that's basically on their way out anyway. Not too sure why so many people are surprised that Eddie Thorpe got the win here, because like I say, if he didn't, he would be toast. Am I a Eddie Thorpe believer? I think the guy is good. Is he the finished article? Probably not. But I want to care about him because I feel like he's very good. And I think there's probably a bit of bias in me. He was part of one of my favorite classes of the New Japan dojo. So I want him to do well. He's still one to watch. But I think they're now using him, they're now positioning him in the right places. We'll see what we get out of Eddie Thorpe. Axiom and Fraser versus Josh Briggs and Inamura. The fact that people are not recognizing, or at least enough people, maybe the industry, let me say that, are not recognizing Axiom and Fraser as the best tag team today is bothering me. It's bothering me because these two are serious. Axiom and Fraser are a serious duo, and they're not getting their flowers. Maybe because they're on NXT. I don't know what it is. It must be that, to be honest. Because if they're on any other products, I'm sure they'll be getting their flowers. But these men are crazy, and this was a really fun match. Josh Briggs and Inamura do this kind of hybrid big man athletic style stuff pretty well. I like the pairing of them. It's not quite odd couple pairing as you would typically get in wrestling, but it's not quite, we're a tag team down to the T. Like Fraser and Axiom aren't really like a tag team like that down to the T. I think Inamura, Yoshiki Inamura, I watched him in Philadelphia last year have a match with Ricky Knight Jr. at Progress for the Progress Atlas Championship? I think that's what they call it. I was shocked when he won. He was brilliant during the match, but I just didn't think they'll put the title on him, and they did, and he was brilliant. And he really had a really strong run with it. He is someone that I feel like, right, this is a Japanese talent. He hasn't come in with like major fanfare that they've got wrong before, all these other names before. For me, he can kind of be like a sleeper success, almost like Takeshita was in AEW. Someone that they brought in, of course, he had a bit more name value and stuff to him, but very much still, this guy has to prove himself sort of thing. I think Inamura could be something like that. We'll watch this space. But this match is very good. Fraxium won. And then this was the first sighting, I believe, of this. Listen, I don't want to say this to diss them, but it's just the closest thing to remember them by. Retribution 2.0. And let's be honest, when Retribution first started and mashing up everything, Retribution were good then. It's only when they started giving them stupid names and all this other kind of stuff where we lost interest. So I definitely don't mean Retribution 2.0 as a diss. I don't know about others, but I don't mean it as a diss, but I'm just using it as what they looked like. It's almost like a Retribution meets the Shield sort of thing that these guys were doing. They just came in and mashed everybody up and left. That's like fair play. What do you want me to say? I thought that fair play. We don't have a name for them. The commentary team named some of those guys. Dion Lennox being one that they named. Connor, what's his name? I've forgotten what his name is. He dates one of the NXT girls. He was named as well, but they looked the part. Blacked out Air Forces, stomping guys out. I hear it. They were to make another appearance later on in the show. Let's talk about Ethan Page and Javon Evans. good match. You know, Javon Evans came out the blocks ready to mash up Ethan Page, get his lick back. There was that spot where he literally jumped through Evans' hands and over the commentary table and stuff like that. It was a really kind of fun match and stuff. I expected Ethan Page to win, and he did. Javon Evans is going in there with an injury, so the minute that Ethan Page can take advantage of that injury, I knew it would be a long day for Javon Evans. So yeah, Ethan Page got the win here. Again, just looking at the timeline of things, I don't know what's left for Ethan Page in NXT really. Yeah, we'll see if he can crack on and moves up to main roster or does some other stuff going into Stand and Deliver. We got the NXT title match, Obafemi defending against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Triple threat match where two of the challengers were basically on the same team, turning it into a handicap match at times. You know what? I watched this match and I got really good feels of when Austin Theory was a bit younger, when Austin Theory was in Evolve, and they mentioned when he was Evolve and when he was in Mexico and stuff like that. And I've really been a fan of Austin Theory, and we're at the point now where people like Obafemi in NXT are surpassing Austin Theory in terms of just star power as a professional wrestler, if you see what I mean. Austin Theory is a fantastic wrestler in ring, so I don't want to kind of disrespect him in that degree, but I feel like the likes of Austin Theory definitely need to kind of crack on. They need to just break up Grayson Waller and Austin Theory and then give them both a direction, because Grayson Waller may not be everyone's most favorite wrestler. I don't think he's a bad wrestler at all, by the way. I just feel like he is a very, very good entertainer, and so is Austin Theory. But together, they've run their race together at this point. So yeah, let's give them both something. We owe them something, because I think sometimes as fans we're very critical, especially about when we got another show now to compare it to, and there's guys their age group on the other show that we'll be very critical of what's this guy doing, this guy's not progressing, this guy's not doing this, blah blah blah. Right now, these are two young talents that should be kind of in the thick of things, knocking on the main event scenes door or the upper mid cards door, and even if they're losing to the stars of today, that makes them the stars of tomorrow. They're not doing that right now, so much so they came down to NXT. So yeah, I really do think that we need to do something with these guys. I enjoyed the finish to this match. Obafemi with that Fall of Grace powerbomb, I think, is great. He pinned Waller, and yeah, celebrating with a title. Didn't last long. This gang came in again, beat up Obafemi, stood over him. We'll see. Maybe come Tuesday we'll learn a bit more about this gang and what they're about. A name, the members might name themselves. We'll see. But yeah, really, really nice triple threat match for the NXT title, and Obafemi remains undefeated in triple threat matches, which is awesome. Main event, fatal four-way. We had Cora Jade, we had Roxanne Perez, we had Bayley, and we had the champion Julia defending the NXT Women's Championship against these three women. 25% chance of retaining, and she retained. This match was really, really good. I mean, we've been talking about the strength of the NXT Women's division now for how long? Like, it's just so clear of any other women's division right now in North America. And these guys really epitomized, where we are today. They were harping on about the different generations of NXT, with Julia obviously pretty much today, the likes of Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade coming through in the NXT 2.0 era a couple years ago, and then Bayley coming through in the black and gold era, 2017, 16, 17, 18 sort of thing. This was a fantastic match. All of these women got their stuff in. It was a physical match. Roxanne Perez, I'm just in awe of just how good Roxanne is. Like, I'm absolutely in awe. And Cora Jade really stood up. And for someone that would have went in maybe with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, saying that, I haven't reached the heights of a WrestleMania win like a Bailey, or I'm not the international import of Julia. I'm not a 2-time women's champion like Roxanne. Cora Jade said, I'm not going to be forgotten. And Cora Jade really put on a show. Probably one of her best appearances since she returned from injury, but that might just be one of her best matches in NXT, full stop. Like, she was really, really good, really strong throughout. So yeah, I think these women put on an absolute show. Julia retained the title, as I'm sure we all thought she would, as it's still very much early days into her reign. And following Julia retaining, Stephanie Vaquer just came out. It wasn't to kind of say, all right, I want next. It was more so like, look, we're both here. We done it. We both kind of came in at the same time. We're both now champions in NXT. And they were having a great moment, which was actually then interrupted by Jordynne Grace, who we know is a WWE superstar at this point. But Jordynne Grace, they want her to report to NXT. And this is it. This is her kind of showing up on the NXT brand, I think, officially. So yeah, she's now standing in and amongst the likes of Stephanie Vaquer and Julia. Which title she goes for, I don't know, but I'm sure Jordynne Grace will feature strongly going into Stand and Deliver. So yeah, that was NXT Vengeance Day, a really good show. Before we finish up for today, one thing I want to mention, Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks, who hasn't been named still, the vignette played for him during Vengeance Day saying that he's going to be on NXT this next week and sign his NXT contract, where I'm sure they will have to name him. If he's signing a contract, they will have to name him. Whoever's going to conduct that signing, whether it's Shawn Michaels, whether it's Ava, he will have to be named. So yeah, I think that's going to be a fun segment, and I'm sure someone will come out to confront him and stuff like that. The speed of him being released from AEW on a Monday and turning up on the Tuesday at NXT was something. That was something. But I think we've known this was going to happen for a while. Apparently they've planned for him to be in NXT. So I'm sure, we will get some good stuff out of it. It was never the plan to kind of come to Maine, maybe because they just don't want to bring him to Maine and not have a spot for him, especially going into Mania and stuff like that. And he is needed in NXT. We know that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Ricky Starks being here, and, a lot smaller in the Performance Center is a lot smaller in terms of a place to perform and get off your art and stuff like that. But of course, it's going out to so many more people. This past week on NXT, they said 800,000 people watched NXT when he turned up, and that's a big number for NXT. That's edging close to that beloved million viewers, which is crazy. And look, I don't want to get into the intricacies of what's on cable TV and what's on network TV and what's easier to get more viewers and what's in more homes and all of that kind of stuff. But he's going to a massive audience, and they're probably going to trust him fairly quickly and fairly heavily, because they have to trust somebody that knows what they're doing. Pretty much how they trusted Ethan Page after 40 days, made him the NXT champion. They're probably going to trust Ricky Starks. Not that they'll make him champion immediately, I'm not saying that, but they're probably going to have to trust him to some degree very, very soon. This allows him to maybe go over and do some TNA stuff as well. But I do think the NXT men's division need him, and it'll be fun. It's going to be fun. I want to know what you guys think in terms of who his first competitors are going to be, because yeah, we've got to stand and deliver to sell. And it's going to be interesting who they give him. Even what he's going to play, he's going to be a face, a heel. Obviously, right now, everyone's happy to see him and he's going to get babyface reactions. But for how much longer? I think Ricky Starks does his best work as a heel. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's most of the main talking points that happened this past week in wrestling. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I endeavor to be back here next Sunday talking about everything that's happened. And of course, during the week, hopefully planning to pick up the Raw reviews on Tuesday evenings and the AEW Dynamite reviews on Thursday. So make sure you tune in and join me for those as well. Smash a like on the video and subscribe if you're new here, people. And I will see you next time. WrestleManiac UK signing out. And I'll see you soon.